So today we're going to focus on uh, introduction paragraphs. So far we've studied body paragraphs, writing like, topic sentences, and then supporting sentences and supporting details, and then ending the paragraph with a conclusion or concluding sentence. So the body paragraph is not actually the first paragraph, it's the body. So the introduction paragraph is also called like the head paragraph, because it's, if you think of it like a person, the head is on top, so that's first, and then you go down to the body, and then you go to the last paragraph, which is the conclusion paragraph, which we will look at shortly. But anyway, so in an introduction paragraph, there are three parts, or at least, yeah, about three parts. So there's the hook, bridge sentence, and the thesis statement. So the hook is the first sentence in an essay, the first sentence, or the first sentence of the introduction paragraph too. So to be clear, whenever we have an introduction paragraph, some body paragraphs, and a conclusion paragraph, we are making an essay. So far in this class, we've mostly just been doing body paragraphs, but this time we're going to focus on making a full essay. And this is the kind of writing we want to do for academic writing or research or business, anything really. So the hook has one important role, which is it helps to get the reader's attention. And we call it a hook because it's like a fish hook. So it's supposed to get the person's attention and hook them in, or catch them like a fish, essentially, so that they're interested in continuing to read your essay or your writing. And the hook has many different forms. So I'm going to look at those now. Now, this list, it doesn't have there is no real order. This is just the order that I put them in. So you don't have to think that one is better than the other, okay? It's just the order that I put them in. So in the very first sentence, in the very first paragraph of an essay, you might see a question like this. How do people like Mark Zuckerberg or Steve Jobs become so successful? And so this question is not asking for an answer, right? Because you're not having a conversation with the reader is not having a conversation with the paper. It's just asking the reader to think about the topic. So where will the reader find the answer? I'm going to give you about a minute to think about this. Okay, so you probably figured it out. It's in the writing, right? Now, this question may not be the most interesting question, and usually this takes some thought. There's not really any tips I can give you on writing good questions, but it's just usually best to start with a WH word, like who, what, when, where, why, how. Yeah, I think I got them all. Who and or which. Yeah, who, what, when, where, why, how, which. Um, those are better questions to make people think than yes no questions. So yes no questions like do you, can you, have you, should you, are you, will you. Those are kind of boring questions because those questions usually have one answer, which is yes or no, and they don't really, you don't really have to think that much. So I guess my only tip is when you make a question, start with a WH word, like who, what, when, where, why, how. Okay. The next type of sentence is a comparison sentence. So comparison just means, this versus that, right? So you're taking two ideas and you're trying to get the reader to think about the differences between them or the similarities between them. So I have this example here. So for poor people living on the street, life can feel like a battle. So take a moment and think about what ideas are being compared. Okay, so you might have figured it out. This one's a little bit tougher, but it's a street life versus a battle. So living on the street versus a battle, right? Um, so they're not exactly the same, but they can have some similarities because we can use this word like a battle. So when we say like, it means they're very similar. So you might think about what are ways to compare things like that. Um, another hook would be using a problem and just uh, kind of stating what the problem is, what you think the problem is. So though, although we have, so we have the example here. Although we live with amazing technology, we are still unable to stop climate change. So this one's probably not too difficult, but of the import, what part emphasizes the importance of this writing? I guess what I'm asking here is what is the problem that is being focused on here? I'll give you a moment to think about this. Okay, so um, probably figured it out that it's we are unable to stop climate change, right? So we have all this technology, but we still can't stop climate change. It kind of looks similar to a comparison, but it's it doesn't have a word like. I guess is the key there. And the last one, I don't know if I would. I always tell students to be careful, or maybe not even to use this one, just because uh, it's kind of tricky to understand, tricky to use. So it's using a quote or a proverb to try to get the writer or reader to think about uh, what ideas will be in the writing, or what information will be in the writing. And a quote or proverb is usually some kind of truth, something that we all understand. So I have this example sentence here, which is "A rising tide lifts all boats" is often said by rich people who want lower taxes. So this I actually have a picture here, but I can't get to it because this, I don't know if you can see this little control thing. So I'm going to actually show you what I mean by "a rising tide lifts all boats." There's a picture that I think explains it very well. And my computer's very slow right now. Oh my God, this is slow. Okay, where is it? Nope, I missed it. I just missed it. Oh, here it is. It's the one I like. So, no, that's not what I want. Oh, sorry, class. Keep hitting the wrong button here. Okay, so this is the rich guy, and he's saying rising tide lifts all boats, and he's got a nice big boat here, and everybody else doesn't have a boat, right? So the idea is that if everyone has a boat, so the tide is the water that goes in and out. When you go to the beach, you can see this. The water uh, will go far away, and then it'll come back, right? So it goes lower and higher when you're at the beach, and we call that the tide, or that's called the tide when the water goes lower and higher, or goes far away and then comes back. Um, and so if you're in a boat, this is the water is supposed to be the economy. So when the kind of economy goes up, everyone goes up. When it goes down, the economy when the economy goes down, everyone goes down. So that's why these proverbs can be a bit tricky. So you got to think about what the you kind of have to picture it a little bit. You have to be able to understand it. So anyhow, uh, that's an example of quote and proverb. I kind of don't recommend use them because they are very tricky. But anyhow, what I want you to do is take a moment, and I want you to think about a topic. This says pick one of your topics. We don't have any topics, so just pick any topic. Could be like uh, working a part-time job. It could be meeting new people. It could be uh, uh, your future plans, whatever, and try to make a hook to that you think would get somebody interested about that. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to work on this. I'll give you 5 minutes to work on this. All right. So ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, I think that's probably more time than you need actually. Uh, anyways, I'm gonna get. You might have come up with something. This here's what I came up with. So after living at home, dormitory life can feel like freedom for students. So I'm going to give you just like 30 seconds to guess which style of uh, hook this is. So just take a moment to think about what this is. Okay, so you probably figured out this is a comparison, right? Living at home, or sorry, dormitory life can be like freedom, or I would say living at home versus versus the freedom of dormitory life. All right, so that's a hook. The bridge sentence connects the hook to the thesis statement. So the bridge sentence usually explains the hook or gives some hints for the about the topic, and that topic's going to be in the thesis statement, right? Um, and there can be more than one bridge sentence, but I really recommend just making one bridge sentence if you can, because it gets to be more complicated if you make multiple bridge sentences. Also, it's usually easier to make the bridge sentence after you make your thesis statement and your hook. So we're going to skip that for now. We're going to come to the thesis statement. So the thesis statement is like a topic sentence. You're just telling what the focus is or what the topic is of your writing, of your essay. Um, so you're not going to give a lot of examples or details. You don't want to give any, actually. You don't want to give any details or examples or even any specific ideas, right? So each of your paragraphs, each of your body paragraphs should have a different topic or really a different idea, actually. We say we use topic sentences for the body paragraphs. That's just telling what idea you're going to focus on for that body paragraph. In the topics, in the thesis sentence, you're going to say, this is the topic, essentially. Um, so I would say start by writing the thesis statement first, then the hook, and finally the bridge. So I have an example here of an introduction paragraph. So normally I would start with this yellow sentence. There are many challenges when adjusting to university life. So that's the topic, right? I don't tell you what the challenges are. I just say there are many challenges, right? And it's challenges to starting university life. Okay. Now, what are the challenges? Well, challenges could be things like making new friends. They could be uh, moving into the dormitory or living in a dormitory. It could be uh, uh, dealing with the cafeterias, right? Or dealing with food. It could be things like doing laundry, cleaning up after yourself, um, stuff like that, right? There's many. Each of those challenges could be a body paragraph, right? But we don't know what they are yet. So I'm going to skip that. Although these, yeah, again, we don't want to include the challenges, or we don't want to include any examples in the thesis statement, because these are going to be the subjects for each body paragraph, which I already told you that. So let's skip this. All right. So now the bridge sentence connects the hook to the thesis statement. And it does this by using keywords. I always recommend using, since you're trying to connect two sentences, it's better to use two keywords in the bridge to connect, so you can connect one to the hook and one to the thesis statement. Because if you try to just connect with using only one keyword, it is actually harder. Okay, so take a look at these take a look, read the introduction paragraph. There should be some keywords in the bridge that are similar or the same, or are the same or similar in meaning to words in the hook and words in the thesis statement. So I'm just going to give you a minute to see if you can find at least one or two of those. Okay. So you might have found at least one of the words. So I would say freedom, right? In the bridge, right, it says, of course, some students may find that freedom can be difficult, right? So freedom, freedom, those are the exact same words. And difficult and challenges, they're not necessarily the same word or same type of word or same meaning, but they're closely connected, right? They're kind of similar meanings. So that's what I mean by using words that are keywords, right? Uh, they're not the exact same words, but they can be. Okay. So let's skip this. All right. For the conclusion paragraph, this is the easiest paragraph to write. And this is actually kind of the purpose, or well, this is kind of like the goal of our writing. There's three parts. You summarize the body paragraphs and topics. That's one sentence. So I just say this, I call this the summary sentence. You restate the thesis statement. And it's important here to understand restate. We'll talk a little bit about this in just a moment. And then you give an opinion, suggestion, or prediction. So this is actually kind of the goal of writing an essay. This is what we want to do. We want to give our opinion or a suggestion or prediction. And a prediction is just a guess, or a guess about the future. So like, in the future, we will have flying cars. That will be a prediction, right? Yeah, so this is kind of this is our real reason for writing something, or this is our personal reason, I guess we could say. So to complete a conclusion paragraph with a summary, or we complete a conclusion paragraph with a summary, and then by, like I said, restating the thesis statement, and then writing an opinion, prediction, or suggestion. So I have my example here. So to conclude, there are many more choices that university students must make. So more choices, these are probably the choices or decisions that were in the body paragraphs. So you in your summary sentence, you can summarize the body paragraphs broadly. It's almost like using a keyword, right? Choices, more choices. Uh, that's kind of showing that each paragraph had to do with a different choice. Or you can be more specific about it. Choosing classes, choosing to live at home or in a dormitory, and how to manage costs. And I know how to manage costs doesn't sound like a choice, but it actually is, right? Because you have to choose what you're going to buy, how much you're going to save. Uh, uh, you might have to choose to get a part-time job. Um, You might choose to, I don't know, maybe start a business or something. I don't know, whatever your choices are. So you can see these are very similar, right? There are many, to conclude, there are many choices that university students must make. To conclude, choosing classes, choosing to live at home or in a dormitory, and how to manage your costs are decisions that university students must make. So I didn't have that decision. I don't have the word decisions in here because uh, that's like in choices, right? Um, but you can see that university students must make to conclude, blah, blah, blah. Uh, so that's the summary sentence. Uh, Actually, I gotta finish explaining this. All right, now, did I? Sorry. Oh, okay. As you can see, the thesis, or the yellow sentence restating the thesis. This is basically going back to the thesis statement from the introduction paragraph, which let's look at it again. Oh, sorry, went too far. So there are many challenges when adjusting to university life. So that's the thesis statement, right? So we look at our conclusion paragraph. There are lots of choices, or lots of choices create lots of challenges, but more rewards. So I haven't exactly copied, right? I probably should say something like lots of choices for students creates, or for university students creates lots of challenges but more rewards. So I haven't exactly copied it, right? There are many challenges when adjusting to university life. So the challenges is similar to right here, challenges, right? But then I also add in this, but there are more rewards. So I'm not copying it, but I am trying to reuse some of the ideas from it. Okay. Uh, and this is actually very tricky, I know, for a lot of students, because usually the thesis statement, it's hard for everybody, not just students, I should say. But this thesis statement can be difficult, or restating the thesis statement can be difficult. What I will say is, like, maybe you can just change the order of words and change some of the words. That's usually good enough. But don't get. I don't expect these to be perfect, because it is a challenge to do this right. And the last part is just giving an opinion, suggestion, or prediction. So this is just what you think, right? You don't have to. You've already essentially told people what the problems are, or what the cause and effects are, or why something is wrong, and you've made your point. Now, at the very end of your essay, it's your turn to tell the reader what you really think, or what they can do, or what will happen. So that's your opinion, suggestion, or prediction. So some students may find it helpful to create a schedule, join study groups, or even call their parents regularly. So I want you to take a moment and think about what is the possible, which one is this? Is this an opinion, suggestion, or prediction? Okay. So you might have come to two conclusions. That this is, some people would probably look at this and say it's an opinion, uh, and some people would say it's a suggestion. It's definitely not a prediction, because usually predictions will have the word will in it. I would actually say this is a suggestion. Uh, it would be better to write this more clearly. So suggestion usually should have a word like should. So it should say students should create a schedule, join study groups, or even call their parents regularly. Or it should say to help themselves or to deal with these problems, students should create a schedule, join study groups, or even call their parents regularly. I don't know why I wrote it so awkwardly in this. Like I kind of didn't make it clear, but it would be a suggestion. But an opinion would be something like, uh, although these challenges are difficult, students will get through them and become better people. Or sorry, students can get through them and become better people, not will, because we're not using a prediction. A prediction would be something like, uh, many students will overcome these challenges and be ready to face be ready to face life alone, or something like that, or become adults. So that's an example. So normally in class we would kind of go through these a bit more, but it's kind of difficult to do it here online. So